Hello and welcome back to Star Trek Sodium. This week we have facts all about Star Trek Deep Space Nine's fourth episode, A Man Alone, which is the sad tale of Security Constable Odo getting accused for a crime he didn't commit, similar to what happened to the A-Team. An Odo-centric episode. It also has a focus on Quark and his big-eared family, as well as a B-plot about Chief O'Brien trying to find something to keep his wife happy now that she lives on some space station. So many interesting things happened around this Hensing episode. Where do I start?
You like Earth jazz, she prefers Klingon opera, so you compromise. You listen to Klingon opera.
As Odo's makeup was new to Michael Westmore and his team, they were still in early days of experimenting with the mixture that they would paste onto the Odo actor's face. Some weeks it would have a thicker latency, another week it would have a thinner mixture, which would allow René Auberjonois to emote more when he talks and make his face less rubbery to try and find the perfect balance for his supple and aging face. For A Man Alone, the experimental mixture for Odo's face had a low bonding sloppy attribute, which is why in a few scenes it looks like his face is actually slipping right off of his head. Look at Odo's costume and you'll see congealed dollop of face that have slipped off and haven't been cleaned up yet because of a lack of time. Captain Sisko is known as the Star Trek captain with the shortest fuse, as he would raise his voice and come down on people unexpectedly, and this episode was no exception. Allegedly in the scene where he shouts at Keiko O'Brien, the actress took it personally and broke down in a sobbing mess on the ground. She sat on the sidelines of the studio while everyone else acted and made the episode, crying to herself. Eventually, episode writer Michael Piller approached her and told her to get a grip before Rick Berman sees what's going on. If she can't stand to see somebody shouting like Captain Sisko, then Rick Berman is the last person she'd want to be confronted with. Originally, Rom wasn't supposed to be in this episode, but unfortunately the Quark actor was reportedly continuously late for filming because of other commitments, and so many of his lines were given to his atrocious Ferengi brother. The story goes that twice during the filming of A Man Alone, the Quark actor had been on the beach at Malibu, where he works as the beach's only lifeguard, keeping the local surfers and naive tourists safe from each other and from sharks and squids and eels. The Star Trek production staff appreciated the value of a safe beach and living human bodies, but something they liked even more was having all of their actors in place and on time. Rumour has it that if Shimmerman didn't have the lifeguard job, the character of Rom wouldn't ever have been created. Not in 1,000,000 billion years. As Deep Space Nine was still the new show on the block, veteran actors from the next generation would hang around and try and boss around the new actors from Deep Space Nine. This would lead to aggravated relationships between the two casts and create a rift that only Chief O'Brien could try and fix. It was the O'Brien actors' idea to have the actors from each production form a bowling team who would settle the rivalry at the Hollywood Bowl each Thursday night. Both teams demanded, of course, that Chief O'Brien play on their team, and when that didn't work out, he instead suggested abandoning bowling and perhaps forming golfing teams to square off at the West Hollywood Golf Club to settle their differences. But trouble arose when both teams demanded that Chief O'Brien be on their team. This led to Chief O'Brien actor suggesting that they try squaring off in a friendly fishing contest, knowing full well that bearded wimp Riker actor was shit scared of fish and that the Quark actor was indeed a master of the oceans, and therefore knew all about catching fish. Now, I've been holding off on talking about this fact, but this little-known tidbit has to be talked about. Otherwise, everyone will be calling me out for having not mentioned it. Now, apparently, during filming an early scene of The Man Alone, while Odo, Major Kira, and Dax are standing on the promenade set, one of the extras on the upper level accidentally vomited over the side, making it rain a mist of fine vomit chunks. Chewy, tiny chunks landed on the actors' hair and splattered on their faces and clothes, making this scene completely unusable. Once the actors were cleaned up and the extra had been sacked with no pay, the scene was refilmed, and those of you with eagle eyes would have noticed that the Dax and Odo actors have particularly sour looks on their faces, just because they were splattered with warm vomit chunks. Actor Avery Brooks, no relation to Mel Brooks, was told when he took the role of Sisko that he'd have to grow a head of hair. Up until this point in his adult life, Brooks had preferred to have a shaved, baldy head, but Rick Berman supposedly was adamant that if both Picard and Sisko were bald, it would present two problems to the fans at home watching. The first problem was that Berman thought that the fans would get confused between the two lead captains, thinking that they were both bald and therefore identical. Secondly, he thought that anyone watching would think that only captains can be bald and therefore should be bald, and so he took the decision to order Brooks to grow some damned hair on that shiny head. Pauldron Worslow, the famed actor, was working on this episode as a Bajoran Vedek, despite not being religious at all. What a massive hypocrite! It was probably best that a seasoned religious zealot, someone brought up to think quite wrongly that God is real, should have actually taken the part, as they could have realistically portrayed the person who wastes their life on fantasy. This, of course, doesn't extend to Star Trek fans, of course, who wisely watch Star Trek continuously for their own cherished enlightenment. A visitor to the set this week was Demi Moore, no relation to 007 actor Roger Moore, who was dating the Worf actor at the time. The Worf actor had brought her in so that she could watch him portray the surly Klingon, but she'd gotten lost and had accidentally wandered into the Deep Space Nine studio by mistake. Apparently she stood there for hensing hours watching the scenes being filmed, wondering where Worf was. When she eventually asked someone where he was, she was laughed off of the set. The soapy producers were allegedly shaking their heads and laughing while saying that Worf being in Deep Space Nine would be totally ridiculous. Those of you with eagle eyes would have noticed that during the scene in Sisko's office with Odo at the 15-minute mark, you can hear a familiar tune quietly playing in the soapy background. That's because in the Studio 9 secondary unit room, a commercial for Pampers diapers was being recorded, with the famous Pampers jingle being played at high volume. The editor tried to get rid of the Pampers nappy music, but not all of it could be hidden by raising the sound of the dialogue and the crucid computers. During the filming of A Man Alone, the Garak actor accidentally came to work, even though he wasn't supposed to be in this week's episode. So that he wouldn't have wasted his time, he spent the day bringing the director and the producers their coffee and cleaning the shoes of the actors while they were wearing their important Star Trek boots. 3 cheers for Garak and his conscientious approach to Star Trek work. Thanks for checking out my super duper facts all about a man alone, one of the more low-key episodes of Series 1 of Deep Space Nine, but all around a fairly good episode and a good introduction to some of the aspects of Odo and the Quark family. Thanks very much. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed some of these truly real facts, and come back next time. I'd like that very much. I'll see you soon. Ta-ta!